Welcome to Natural Medicine Secrets. I'm your host, Jonathan Otto. Detoxification pathways are our body's way of eliminating waste. While cleansing the colon, getting it moving, eliminating parasites, and building a healthy gut microbiome are all essential to good health, we must also address the other organs that are essential to keeping our body running smoothly. The liver, the kidneys, the lymphatic system are three amazing detoxification systems in the body. However, when we're constantly bombarded with toxins, these systems can become weighed down and toxic themselves. At this point, they can no longer effectively clean out the body. Heavy metal detoxing, supporting healthy kidney function, draining the lymphatic system are all steps that we need to take in order to restore our body to its optimal state. I'm often asked, how do I know if I need a detox? Does my body need a detox? I could just make it simple and say everybody needs to detoxify on a regular basis, because that's true. Just consider how you feel when you've been working really hard for a long time. You feel mentally and physically worn out, and you come to a point where you know you need to take a break. A mental and physical break, like a vacation. A time to relax, reset, and restore yourself so that you can go back to enjoy a normal, happy, energetic life again. Well, your internal body operates much the same way. No matter how healthy your diet or lifestyle may be, our bodies are all challenged every single day by an accumulation of toxins, wastes, and even parasites that bog down our liver and kidneys and clog up our colon. If we give them a detox on a regular basis, this takes the pressure off, much like a vacation does.
The great way to look at it is, I use an analogy, cleaning up the house, right? So if you have a big party, you want to clean up your house, the cleanup of the house is the detox process. Now, when you clean up the house, you're not just sweeping the trash, you're also mopping the floor. You also don't have just one room you got to clean. You got to clean multiple rooms of your house to have a complete clean, right? So if you're going to do a real clean. And then at the end of it, you got to take all the trash out, and the trash guy's going to pick it out. So there's several stages to that. So in that philosophy, then, you got to support the liver, big player, gallbladder. People tend to think liver, but gallbladder is just as important because gallbladder stores bile, and that bile is important in binding to different hormones and toxins so that you can eliminate through the fecal route. You also need to have kidney support and even lymphatic support. So in the liver side, you have your classic herbs like milk thistle, and then on your gallbladder side, you have classic herbs like Jerusalem artichoke or dandelion root. In the kidney side, you have celery seed. And then you can even talk about chlorella as far as a good metal binder. A good detox really on a cellular level. You're detoxing the whole body, the cells of the body, because that's where toxins is not just stored like where macroscopically you can see, it's also stored microscopically inside the cell as well. So you aim for a cellular detox, and that means you got to clean the whole house. And that requires a multi-step process.
The allopaths freak out when you say detoxify. They're like, that's quackery, there's nothing to detoxify. We have a liver, our body can filter out anything, and that's just garbage. They're just trying to sell you supplements. It's absurd because allopathy is based on poisoning the body. They've co-opted entire disciplines of science. Toxicology is about trying to justify often how much crap and how much assault by chemicals your body can take. And then, of course, pharmacology is like applied toxicology. How much can we poison this human until they don't die and maybe have a side effect that we can package as a therapeutic one? It's literally what they do. They take these rats, they kill 50% with these lead compound drugs, and they say, well, we can deduce an acceptable level of harm in a human from these studies, all these dead rats laying around, and we'll just give the human this much, and then we'll try to get approval for it. The whole system by which allopathy operates is really all about either trying to monetize and market poisoning or mitigate the perception that you are being poisoned. So natural medicine advocates are just sitting back here like, really? Like, okay, then we'll start with, let's detoxify the body. The body's incredible, but it's gonna continue to fight itself. It's going to continue to manifest symptoms that look like disease, because that's allopathy's like magic trick. Oh, you've got symptoms? We're going to throw Latin and Greek terminology on it so that you don't know what we're talking about anymore, and just pretend like that the name is a disease that now just exists somewhere out there in imaginary space. How about the symptoms are your body's way of healing and messaging that something's wrong? How about we respect them, and how about we get back to the basics? remove the interference, so you take the toxicants out of the body. There's lots of ways you can do that. Through the bowels, through the skin, you do it through the lungs. There's many ways you can enhance that process. And then, of course, then you nourish the body with that amazing, life-giving, information-containing food, right? That was grown organically or better biodynamically. You suck in the elements, right? You've got the air, you've got the sun, you ground your body. And your body is this miraculous instrument. So I'm just a big fan of just going for the simple fact that, yes, natural medicine is how you heal your body. And yes, in emergency circumstances, we might need drugs to save our body if the limbs are falling off or whatever. But most of it is really basic. Detoxify, nourish, get your mind straight, know that you can heal, because if you don't believe it, you'll get sucked into the medical merry-go-round. They'll suck you right up.
The real question is, how did these toxins get there in the first place? We all know some of the common factors like air pollution, food and water contaminants, and chemical cleaners. But there are also so many other sources of toxins that we're being exposed to, such as dental fillings, vaccines, personal care products, cosmetics, cloth materials sprayed with chemicals like our pillows, sheets, and carpets. According to the CDC, the very air we breathe is filled with small aluminum particles that are toxic to our system. Our bodies are well adapted to fight and flush out these toxins. However, the increasing toxic overload of our environment and lifestyle choices is getting to a point where many people's bodies are breaking down. But there is hope. We don't have to live like this. Sometimes when we hear that there are so many things filled with toxins that are all around us, it feels futile to try and combat these things. But it's not as complicated as it may seem. There are simple things that you can do to bring about amazing transformations in your body, health, and even your energy levels. And this episode will dive deeper into these issues and help you really understand what you can do to experience this for yourself.
So 5 years ago, I was diagnosed with Meniere's disease, and that led to a lot of episodes of just a lot of chronic health issues, vertigo, neurological symptoms that would present in my body, really blurred vision, lots of head issues and balance issues, chronic fatigue, just basically not feeling human. From February, March, and April, I was pretty much in my bed the entire time. I could not walk, I could not drive, I could not see, I could not read.
Imagine coming in, I go to work and my wife is laying like she could, she gets up in the morning, she could hardly walk, drive the girls to school, drop them off. We come home at nighttime where my wife would typically have a dinner ready for us. The house is clean, the things are taken care of, but we come home and my wife is still laying in bed, and that went on month after month.
All these symptoms just began to get worse. I had seen every specialist out there, every neurologist, every endocrinologist. Nobody could help me. Every natural health doctor. I was taking all the right supplements. I'm a health enthusiast, and I was pretty much at the end of my road and just kind of like, am I going to have to accept this as my new normal?
When I was seeing my mom in the bed, I felt like that she didn't deserve what was happening to her.
You can wake up in such a good mood, and then you see a person that you love so much, like that can't walk or has so much pain. What does it do for the whole family? The whole family is kind of comes down.
Somehow made a connection with a girlfriend who pointed me into the direction of the Ottos and Jonathan Otto and his health documentaries. And I knew that I had to watch, and I watched, and I couldn't stop watching. I just soaked it all up and just had light bulb after light bulb going off. I chose probably 3 different protocols within their teachings and the things that the doctors in there recommended, and I immediately began applying them in my life. And within 2 weeks, I noticed probably a 60% improvement in all of my body, in all of the symptoms. Today would be 6 weeks. The last few days, I've been waking up 100% symptom-free. I've had no chronic pain issues in my joints. My vertigo is completely gone. I have, the brain fog is gone. I'm not having neurological symptoms in my body. Just everything seems to be restored to me. My energy has come back. My family is just like, wow, my husband has his wife back. My kids have their mom back.
Not like I lost my wife, but it's very nice to have our normal life back. And when I say normal, it's just having my wife, with us and living life together. And as a young couple, as we are having fun together. Simple things, but things that are so important to our life.
All the documentaries that Jonathan Otto is putting out there, they are anointed, they have purpose, they are something that I just really think that people will have light bulbs going off. If you are a human being, you need to listen to these series.
Welcome to Natural Medicine Secrets. I'm Jonathan.
And I'm Lori.
And we're so glad to be here with you. I really hope you're enjoying watching episode 2 of Natural Medicine Secrets.
Throughout this live screening of the docuseries, you can take advantage of discounts of up to 93%, especially if you're choosing our best value program. Let me just take a minute to share with you what you get if you choose our best program. You get a DVD set and lifetime digital access to the Natural Medicine Secrets 9-episode docuseries. Also, you get the printed book and digital access to the full read-along transcripts for all the 10 episodes. For those of you who are on the go and prefer to listen to the docuseries while driving, shopping, exercising, or doing errands, you'll love the audio files in MP3 format.
You get lifetime digital access to all of the 57 full-length interviews that we did as the basis for the docuseries. Along with these full-length interviews, you get the complete read-along transcripts in digital format.
One of the most important pieces of the program is a 7-module healing recovery protocol. You will also get 11 healing protocols.
The 11 healing protocols is like visiting 11 different doctors and stealing their best secrets all for free. And you also get a free physical and online pass to Natural Medicine Secrets. This means you can gift a DVD containing all the materials to a friend or loved one, as well as give them online access to anyone that you want.
Another bonus is 25 recipes with delicious natural medicine ingredients. Next in this value-packed is our printed book of 57 key takeaways from our interviews.
You'll also get 5 cooking videos to banish inflammation on DVD. That's a lifesaver if you have autoimmune issues or if you just want to keep low-grade chronic inflammation under control. Core Gold package gets you another 3 printed books featuring more natural remedies for specific conditions and the natural medicines that are scientifically proven to work to combat disease. You'll get the top 21 natural remedies for autoimmunity and inflammation, natural herbs to revolutionize your health and combat chronic disease, and herbs and minerals to boost your brain.
Another exclusive bonus is the 12 months of access to our private Facebook community support and coaching group.
In the Core Gold package, we've included our free Jumpstarter supplement pack that has an amazing combo of products specially formulated to give your health a boost and start getting you on track. Our Jumpstarter pack has Gut Repair 360, Cell Defense, Toxi Binder, Parapurify, turmeric and ginger with bioperine, and emergency immune support. We want to give you the opportunity to starting detoxing, fighting inflammation, and healing leaky gut so that you can get to see the difference right away. With this package, you'll get the opportunity to begin to transform your health from the inside out. We want to make sure that you have more than just the information and the supplement starter pack. We want to give you a special gift that will get you started on your personal healing journey. Have you ever wished that you had someone to talk to that was just able to sit down with you and really figure out your health issues? It seems when we go to the doctor's office, the doctor is quick to rush in and out of the room, and many people often feel they aren't fully seen or heard. Considering this, we've added a high-value 40-minute free phone consultation with a health coach who has been specially trained to make sure that you're able to come up with a program that is right for your needs. The value of this consultation alone is worth $199. So make sure you check out all the packages and find out the one that is right for you.
Go ahead, lock in your support. Simply click the button or banner below and get instant on-demand access now.
The thing is, 2,000 years ago, the human body wasn't much different than it is today.
Yeah.
It didn't change much, you know. It hadn't changed much at all, really.
Yeah.
So what was healing to us 2,000 years ago, 3,000 years ago, 5,000 years ago, is still very healing to us today.
Yeah.
You know, I would say the only thing that's really changed is we've intoxicated our environment.
Yeah.
So the things that we're toxic with today are a little more difficult to get rid of than the things we were toxic with 1,000 years ago.
Yeah.
Or 2,000 years ago, so on and so forth. So it takes a little more ingenuity on our part in figuring out how to get rid of these things, because, you know, our environment isn't necessarily getting better.
Yeah. So where are these exposures coming from?
They're coming from our environment. They're coming from our family, unfortunately, and they're coming from things that we put inside of our body. So they're coming from the food supply. So we know that the vast majority of food supply is contaminated with chemicals like pesticides and heavy metals. They actually have done research on high fructose corn syrup, which you would be amazed when you actually read a label of a food product, how often high fructose corn syrup is in there. 60% of the time, they actually found mercury in that high fructose corn syrup. So as simple as just getting higher quality food can actually lessen your exposure to some of these toxic metals. We know that amalgams, the silver fillings within our mouth, are actually 50% weight mercury. And the issue is here, you know, the ADA, American Dental Association, still to this day says, you know what, those are safe. I don't think they're an issue. You know, when you put them in, they harden and they're fine. But if you think about it, if the silver fillings in my mouth are mercury, and before they go in the mouth, they're hazardous material, and you have to handle them very carefully in the dental office. Then when they're in my mouth, they're magically safe. And then if I get them removed, now that material now is hazardous and I have to dispose of them correctly. How does it go from hazardous to safe to hazardous? Like, I'm pretty sure it's hazardous the whole time. But what do we do when we eat? We chew our food. We put compression on there. We drink hot things like tea and coffee that then cause more vapors and mercury to actually be released. Where is it being released to? As a vapor, we're breathing in right to the brain. Mercury is a very high affinity for the brain. So we're looking at amalgam fillings, we're looking at food supply.
The most overlooked health problem in conventional and integrative medicine is poor oral health. I think this is a really important message, especially for those who are suffering with autoimmune disorders. I'm talking specifically about mercury-based silver fillings, root canal-treated teeth, gum disease, and even cavitations. And no, I'm not talking about cavities. I'm talking about cavitations, which are bone infections that are a byproduct of improperly extracting teeth. All of these issues that are happening inside the mouth are definitely affecting in one way or another somebody who's dealing with an autoimmune disorder. I mean, we all know what the symptoms are, right? We're talking about brain fog, we're talking about chronic fatigue. Autoimmune diseases also go into things like neurological disorders, blurred vision. You know, the list goes on and on. All of these symptoms that people feel are a byproduct of chronic inflammation, right? And so we're talking about anti-inflammatories. We always hear about living an anti-inflammatory lifestyle. In terms of extracting mercury-based silver fillings, make sure you're going to a well-trained biological dentist who's going to go through all kinds of different procedures with you. For example, oxygen in the nose, a very big suction device, a tube that'll be put very close to your mouth to draw all the airflow away from your mouth, especially when they're drilling those mercury fillings out of your mouth. Make sure that it's in a special room. A lot of these biological dentists who get it have a very special dedicated room for mercury extraction where the airflow is really good, where they're ionizing the air as well. And there's a lot of water that's used to keep the heat down when they're doing the drilling. There's also other very important tips, which I had done personally, which I thought was really brilliant. My biological dentist had me rinse with charcoal. Now, it doesn't look very pretty. Your mouth is really black, but he had me swish around a lot this charcoal-based liquid and then actually swallow it down into my body so that there would be a coating all through my esophagus and my digestive tract, and of course all throughout my mouth, so that any kind of mercury that would possibly get loose would be drawn directly to that charcoal and then eliminated out of my body without it getting absorbed into my body. I spend a lot of time talking about this because if you're suffering with an autoimmune condition or any other serious chronic health problem, it's really important that you don't add a toxic burden. And if you get these fillings improperly removed, you could cause yourself a world of hurt. So please be careful in how you extract.
Then social media just adds a whole other layer, because then we have Instagram filters. So there's a lot of perfection that is not realistic at all. And then of course we can't help but compare ourselves to that. And then so that's like a whole situation. And then
I think you're right.
And then we've eaten strange things and processed food and things like birth control pills and antibiotics. And so why do we have all those parasites too? Like, is it because we really have depleted microbiomes? Because studies show that we are probably missing about 1,000 species right now. So the average American, so this is like, we have billions of bacteria and microbes in our body, but for species in the gut, they estimate that the average North American person should have about 2,400 species, and looks like our guts are about 1,400 right now. And so what we also know, like the microbes that cause cavities are in everyone's mouth, which is like streptococcus, excuse me. And the microbes that cause skin imbalances are on everyone's skin. But when we're missing, or like H. pylori, it's like actually, a few decades ago or a few centuries ago, it was okay because we're now missing our ancestral bacterial buddies. So, it's the other microbes that are supposed to keep the pathogens in check. So the pathogens float around in our bodies sort of freestyle like phytoplankton. But when they grow in numbers, they gain traction. And so that's when they start to do quorum sensing, which is when they get to express their genes more and they get to communicate, and they're like, come on guys, let's go here. And then they kind of get a gang going, and they make the biofilms, and then they're pushing out the friendly bacteria. And so what's interesting, that brings up essential oils, because with things like antibiotic resistance and the study of the microbiome, because it's like serious research now, while we may be really overusing antibiotics, there are, branches of medicine and science that are concerned about that, because the antibiotic resistance is a reality on many levels, from, factory farming. Not that I want that to exist, but it's causing, the antibiotics aren't working anymore, and they're not working on us anymore. So researchers are looking for quorum sensors, things to inhibit quorum sensing. So it's called a QSI. So the quorum sensing is when the phytoplanktons get to express themselves and gain traction and create biofilms. So they want to prevent that. And as it turns out, one of the best substances as a group is essential oils, because they are able to eradicate pathogenic bacteria, clean them up. And again, it's varying. It depends which one and which microbe, and how cinnamon reacting with strep in a petri dish and all of that. But they all, to some degree, inhibit quorum sensing while working with the friendly bacteria. So it's much in the same way that they protect us, like they protect the plants. So they defend against pathogenic bacteria while befriending the friendly bacteria. So it's really great. And now I feel like we have the modern science to back up why people have been using things like frankincense, cloves, cinnamon, rose, peppermint, cardamom in their oral care for years, for thousands of years. So it's just a neat moment in history where we're getting a lot of studies on essential oils through this avenue of antibiotic resistance and QSI.
Excellent. So how could somebody apply these essential oils to improve their oral health care so they can kind of prevent a lot of these diseases that actually are starting in the mouth?
Yeah, well, there's there's some general rules to using essential oils. They're very concentrated. I mean, they are concentrated. They're the distilled. So, like, to really get an example, Rose Otto is the distilled version of rose, and in one drop, it takes 60 rose heads to make that drop. So they're far more concentrated than a herbal infusion or a herbal tincture, or certainly like a flower essence, which is more of a etheric concentration on a homeopathic level. So they're potent, and you're using them by the drop. And they're called essential oils, but they're not actually oily, like lipid, like an olive oil. They're actually a volatile oil, and they're evaporative. And they were birthed generally from, steam and a whole alchemy thing. It's a very scientific word, thing. So they're so unique because they contain this, really, like, I call it, they're botanical biotics. So they're like plant life givers rather than the antibiotics. And to me, they're fascinating because they have this medicinal value. They have a topical application. Like, if you can't smell, it's still going to do stuff when the molecules travel up your nose or when you apply it to your skin. But then they're also just like such glorious scent machines. And so they also have such a great effect on our mind and our emotions. And they can really, back in the day, perfume, like smelling, was seen as connecting with spirit, because spirit's intangible and invisible, and so are these aromas. And so there was a real union there. And really, back in those days, like ancient times, perfume and medicine were one. Medicine makers were perfumers, and the perfume was the medicine. And that makes a lot of sense to me. It wasn't until around the turn of the century that we birthed synthetics. It's been very brief history, right? And then that's when you had the real division between like medicine and cosmetics, and finding and isolate, and then looking just for the parts of those plants instead of the whole thing. So that's why I find essential oils fascinating, because they're really potent, and they're so beautiful, and they smell good, and they're just this potent medicine with like hundreds of bioactive substances in one drop. And when you see the readings of the like hundreds of substances that we don't even know about yet in just like one drop of frankincense, it's just so fascinating. So there's a lot that they do that we don't even have to think about. But you can use some essential oils, just one drop, undiluted, on like a zit, or like a canker sore or something. So there's where you can use it like very tiny amounts, but then there's some you can't, like clove and cinnamon. You take that one drop and put it on your gum, it's gonna burn and irritate the skin. So generally they're so concentrated, we have to use them diluted. And then that dilution can be anywhere from like a 1% to a 50% again, but you're not gonna do that all over your body. That could be like, I've got tooth pain, I'm gonna take that one drop of clove to like one drop of olive oil, and I still need it to be strong, and I'm gonna put it in there, So it's like different things. But then if you wanna put it all over your body, you're looking at something under 10%. So you want to have a good, what's called a carrier oil, so like jojoba or real olive oil or virgin coconut oil or sea buckthorn oil or rose hips, something like that, to bring it into the body and deliver it in. And it sinks into the skin, and then it does its magic. Or if you inhale it, it communicates, the molecules go in, talk to the hypothalamus, go into the lungs, the organs, and then they excrete themselves, so you don't get a buildup. Bottles are made, and then the water's injected. So the bottle's made, it's hot plastic coming off the wherever, and the water's injected right away. That was like really eye-opening for me.
Huh.
The hot plastic is receiving the water.
Whoa.
It's bottled when the bottle's made. Well, there's just not that's, there'll be a smell sensation, although not the same. And I can tell right away what's real and not real. But there's just like what that oil is supposed to do isn't going to happen. It's not going to take care of cleaning your, helping your oral care environment and like helping to stimulate your gums, and a real essential oil when used in skincare, depending on the one and the quality and the blend. But I mean, these things can, studies show they can lengthen telomeres, they stimulate circulation, they disrupt, there's disruptive enzymes. I mean, I always think of enzymes as good, but there's these destructive enzymes that eat up elastin and collagen. They, inhibit that process. They help to stimulate circulation, they stimulate the lymph, they turn on protective genes, they turn on anti-inflammatory proteins. That's what we get when we have a real substance being used that contains hundreds of bioactive beauty in it.
Incredible. And so now if we're using these synthetic essential oils, do you think there's a challenge as well with them doing any damage in any cases?
Rose is gorgeous. So there's Rose Otto, which is a steam distilled essential oil. That's the type of rose that you want to use in skincare, oral care, and sort of it's more medicinal. It's actually almost as potent as clove oil, but you don't think of it sort of as astringent because it's this beautiful flower. And then if you see Rose Absolute, that's a different type of distillation, and those are generally reserved for perfume. And that has more of the classic rose aroma. So it's good to always know that difference. Cardamom is, it's like an aphrodisiac. It's great for oral care. It's a great aroma. So there's thermography, and really look at whole body thermography. Get your headshot in there as well, because looking at the lines of inflammation, there may be oral care issues that are connecting to the breast issues. You can have your heavy metal load tested. You can look at what fungus you have in your body or candida levels. You can test if you're estrogen dominant. And then you can get a picture and start working on those things, which I think is going to give you a much better roadmap to what's going on.
This is another, I know, very sensitive topic in terms of root canal treated teeth, because a lot of times people don't hear that root canal treated teeth could be a problem. And here's the main point I want people to understand. Once this is done to the tooth is a dead tooth. And from that dead tooth, over time, it is very easy for that tooth to be infected. Again, let me give you an example of my conversations, many with Dr. Thomas Levy, who had an incredible experience with Hal Huggins, who's a pioneer in biological dentistry. He saw firsthand how these root canal treated teeth are infected because over time, like I said, these are dead teeth that don't circulate at all anymore like a normal tooth does. Blood circulation, the fluid that goes through these teeth is gone once the treatment is done. And then over time, this bacteria gathers around it like mold at the bottom of a shower, and it builds up over time, and then that infection doesn't just stay around the tooth, but it spills into the rest of the body, into the bloodstream, into the lymphatics. They have to be dealt with. People must realize that to clean up these infected teeth in the mouth is going to take a huge relief off the immune system, and they're going to see their symptoms fade away in many cases. The tissues in our mouth, the gums, are an indication of how the rest of our tissues in our body are doing. So when we have gum disease and we have bleeding gums, that's representative of inflammation throughout the entire body, and it must be addressed, because if we don't, again, that mixes with our saliva, goes into our digestive system, and causes these conditions that so many people with autoimmune disorders are familiar with already, which is the permeability of the gut, leaky gut, which really is a big gateway, right, once that happens, to opening up our body to all kinds of unwanted debris. And when that occurs, we get more and more chronic inflammation. So really what I'm talking about here is a vicious cycle. we let a little bleeding gums go by. We don't think it's much of a big deal. Obviously, the severity of that can get much worse and go into the bones around the mouth, but it really is affecting the rest of the body as well. Our digestion, our blood, and our lymphatic system. You know, there's one interesting tip that I've noticed even from working, very closely and seeing what happened with my wife and her bleeding gum issues. There's really a chronic situation that was going on for quite some time. And I mean, she was doing everything. A lot of the tips that I've already mentioned in terms of hydroflossing and, eating the best kind of diet and taking the best supplements. She was taking vitamin C plus quercetin, but in liposomal form. Now, what's interesting about that is she was taking it orally, swallowing it, taking vitamin C powder, swallowing that as well, because again, we all know that vitamin C is an anti-inflammatory, reduces inflammation, should hopefully cut down on the bleeding. But then what she decided to do was swish the liposomal vitamin C quercetin in her mouth. And in doing that, it soaked into the gums and actually reduced the inflammation, and her bleeding actually went away.
So you have food supply, mercury, you've got environment. I've got friends that have never had a vaccine and they've never had an amalgam filling, and yet they have mercury toxicity, and they're a doctor. I mean, they're like, how did this happen? Because of our environment. Coal burning plants. What happens in one part of the world is going to affect us here. We share one atmosphere. To think like, oh, I'm in the most pristine and the most non-toxic place. You might be in a safer place, however, you're not in a bubble or a safe bubble, you're in the earth bubble. The earth bubble is we share one atmosphere and there's going to be contaminants across. When we're looking at other heavy metals though, lead heavy metal toxicity will actually get passed on from mom to child. Mercury, not as much of a big one, but the lead heavy metal toxicity, we know that carries on. But there's many heavy metals, but the top one that affects brain health is definitely mercury. Looking at vaccines, and there's been a lot of controversy. When you look at the big topics of where people get polarized, diet, politics, religion, vaccines, I'd say those are probably the top 4 things. And it's almost to the point where somebody says vaccines and it's like, whether you're on one side or the other, you want to fight. And this has all been manufactured. This has all been manufactured to control us, really to control our thoughts and our brain, to create this duality. You have to pick a side. And then if you're on that side, you got to fight the other side. It's like, wait a minute, why do we have to pick a side at all? Why can't we just think outside the box and look at what is this doing, right? And what's inside of it? When we look at vaccines, we know chemicals are in there. So if you have a flu shot, vast majority of those shots contain thimerosal, which is 50% mercury. They put thimerosal in there to attenuate the virus. So they can't just put a virus in a liquid and then shoot it in you. They have to attenuate it because there's a manufacturing process. They'll use a heavy metal like mercury. They'll put a lot of aluminum in shots as well too to do that. And when they do that and you inject it in your body, it's going right in your body. It's bypassing all your normal immune system in your bloodstream. And we don't really know the true ramifications of that. And then we get on the other side of the people that are like, well, no, there's no chemicals in vaccines. Well, there's actually been researchers that have proven that there's retroviruses in vaccines. So if we're just arguing like chemicals, now we know that vaccines actually transmit retroviruses. A retrovirus is a virus that actually does reverse transcriptase. So instead of going from DNA to RNA, it goes RNA to DNA. Here's the takeaway, that virus has a code in it that will get implanted in our body and it'll change our genetics. And it can get expressed over trauma. So when we're having trauma, when we have a car accident, we get a phone call from our loved one and all of a sudden like, that's not a good call. Or we have a fight with our boss, or we get exposed to a moldy environment, or we get a mercury filling drilled out and it exposes us to mercury. All of a sudden now it can trigger that retrovirus that maybe has been inactive for 10 years in your body to actually go active. And now it can actually change our DNA. And so something as simple as, oh, it's a vaccine, it's safe, I think we need to reanalyze it and be like, I'm not sure, not just from the chemicals, but also what else it's doing.
So this client here, a 63-year-old female, and she started with us at the very end of the summer. So you can see here that her labs were done August 31st. And so she hasn't been with us for very long, yet she's had some incredible strides and progress in what we've been doing with her. She came to us feeling so horrible with a multitude of different symptoms, including brain fog, anxiety, depression, hot flashes, not sleeping well, bloating, constipation. Her skin really looked bad. Her hair was falling out. So I mean, that's just some off the top of my head. And we ran a bunch of labs on her that included functional blood chemistry, genetics. We are looking at her brain chemistry. We're looking at her hormones. But I'm going to just show you what we did with her blood in the first 30 days, because I had to explain to her that even though her anxiety was one of her top concerns, that we needed to do a detox first. Because if we didn't do the detox first, that I'm not going to be able to give her what she needs so that her body can restore balance to its own brain chemistry.
Detoxification first starts by limiting how much we're exposed to, right? Because you can't clear out what's built up in your body if you're constantly being exposed to things. So remove the source is number one. Then the second thing is let's start, emptying our bucket. We all have toxins throughout our lifetime that we're exposed to that kind of pile into our bucket. Our mom gave us some toxins to add to our bucket as well too. So we want to start emptying that. Some easy ways to start is to increase glutathione in our body. So glutathione it's a little bit longer word, but it's involved in what they call phase 2 detox. But what you need to know about it, it's the strongest antioxidant in our body. Our body naturally makes it, but it's also a very good detoxifier. But here's the thing. Those with autism, those with cancer, those with health issues are going to have lower glutathione. So we want to do something to help boost that up and get that moving. So there's different things like liposomal glutathione. There's different products like, or foods even like whey protein that can help raise glutathione. There's precursors as well. There's things that actually help recycle it. So I think doing some research in the glutathione category or side of it can be very beneficial and very valuable in detoxification. Also, if you have heavy metal toxicity, you can look at true chelators like, ALA, DMSA, EDTA, DMPS. These are not for the faint of heart, though. I always recommend working with a practitioner that understands true, heavy metal detoxification and what to do.
Let me break it down a bit more, because I know that many people like specifics. Here are 10 telltale signs that your body is literally begging you for a detox. 1, you have a health issue, whether it's a mood disorder like depression or anxiety, an autoimmune problem, joint pain, or any chronic disease fueled by unhealthy high levels of inflammation. 2, you've been following a health protocol for your issue and you're just not getting the recovery that you expected. Oftentimes this means you could have a hidden parasitic infection that's holding you back from your recovery. 3, you feel fatigued, stressed, overwhelmed, or lacking in energy. 4, you have skin breakouts, rashes, eczema, or a dull, blotchy complexion. Did you realize that your skin is actually an organ of detoxification and it can become overwhelmed and overworked? 5, you seem to pick up colds or viruses easily. 6, you're taking any kind of prescribed medication. 7, your digestion is problematic. You have gas, heartburn, constipation, or other GI issues. 8, you're carrying around more weight than you should. 9, you tend to make unhealthy food choices like eating a lot of sugar or you need caffeine to get through the day. 10, you get that foggy brain feeling, memory lapses, or lack of mental clarity.
When we're talking about detoxification, one of the things that we need to be concentrated on are, number one, what are the detoxification pathways? How do we clear things out of our system, right? And so we have breath, we have sweating, we have bowel movements, we have urination, right? So we have the kidneys, the liver, the gastrointestinal tract, and then we have the lymphatic system. So we need to promote through different nutrients, through different practices, upregulation or opening of these different drains, right?
Why don't you talk to the person at home? How can they start detoxing today?
Yeah, the first step is I always like to differentiate drainage versus detox. Drainage is making sure your pathways are open. Liver bile duct, making sure that's moving, making sure you're not constipated in the colon. The lymphatic system, the brain drainage, making sure you sweat. These are all the normal, kidneys actually urinating. These are all normal drainage pathways that the body just moves things out and out of the body. If you are clogged drainage wise, if you're constipated, if the liver bile duct is clogged, which is one of the number one issues I see with autoimmune cases and chronically ill people, is this liver bile duct. If that's clogged, the last thing you want to do is jump into trying to detox because the toxins have nowhere to go. So when we're looking at detox, drainage is first, and then now we can actually start detoxification.
So we've learned here about our detox pathways, including our liver, kidneys, colon, skin, and lymphatic system. We've seen that we all need to detoxify these systems, and we can't just cross our fingers and hope that our body is able to deal with the toxic load. Sooner or later, it's going to catch up with us. And once a disease is triggered, it's much harder to undo the damage. However, even if you are suffering from a chronic disease, taking the time now to detox your body can have profound results that could change your life. Join us as we visit Dr. Giuffre and his patient, Peggy, a cancer survivor who has her blood analyzed to ensure that she's still recovering and to learn what else she can do to detoxify her body and facilitate her healing. The blood can tell us so much, and it's fascinating to see this process in action.
Here we're looking at the dry blood layer, which is also called the oxidative stress test. So we basically let the blood dry for 10 minutes, and we're seeing how the blood is aging. We're seeing how inflammation and different sorts of chemicals and toxins are affecting the blood. If we go to the outskirts, a lot of patients, we can actually see heavy metals here. We're not really seeing any heavy metals in Peggy's blood, but a lot of times you'll see all this black here. We can't tell which heavy metal it is, but we can definitely see them. And it's cool because the second sample was identical to the first sample. We're seeing the same exact patterns. That's why I always do 2 samples to show the reproducibility of this. So there's a base of what you always want to do every single day. There's like things that we have to supplement some things. It's just it's become impossible to get everything from the food. And if you think you can do that, you're crazy. It's the world that we've inherited. The world we've inherited.
As perfect as
you
that
know?
can be,
Yeah,
you know?
exactly.
Yeah.
So I mean, everybody's got to do chlorophyll, whether it's a green juice, fresh green juice, or dehydrated, a mineral supplement, magnesium, of course, vitamin D3 with K2, even iodine. I mean, if you look at the thyroid gland, it's the #1 gland susceptibility to toxins. So even if your blood levels are showing satisfactory iodine levels, as we age, I think we all should take an iodine supplement as well.
Chlorella is a very powerful compound, and I love it because it actually has got some very mild chelating effects for toxins in our body. But it's great for actually nourishing and tonifying cells, and so I think that that's just a great, gentle overall thing that a lot of us can do. Just if we wanted to start getting the detox processes going, chlorella is just an easy thing that we can do.
When you look at things like vitamin D, what does vitamin D do? Why is it so important? Vitamin D's job is to absorb calcium in the large intestine. But once that gets into the body, where does it go? Now, you need high levels of magnesium to be able to absorb both of those, to have vitamin D and calcium. So really those 3 are so important. But once that calcium goes into the body, it needs direction. And that is done with something called vitamin K2. Now, you get K1 from eating vegetables, which we are fine with. We get plenty of K1. But to get K2, there needs to be a conversion through an enzyme. Now, the problem with statin drugs is that it does 2 things. #1, it interferes with the body's conversion of K1 to K2. So K2 is critical because when the calcium comes into the body, K2 tells it to go to the right places, to the bones. If you don't have enough K2, take one guess where it's going. Your blood vessel walls. It causes plaquing. It goes to your joints, causes arthritis. It goes to your kidneys, causing kidney problems. So that's why I love taking a vitamin D3 with K2, because it directs that calcium where to go. But the critical thing is that you need to have vitamin D3 with K2 in the right ratios, but also the magnesium and calcium in a 1-to-1 ratio.
If you're like most Americans, you've heard the fear-based thinking around natural medicines. You've heard that they're quackery or unscientific. And that's why we want to help you see the science behind these processes. We can see from Peggy's blood sample that these things are actually very real. And as Dr. Geoffrey mentioned, every time you take a supplement or make a lifestyle change, it shows up in the health of your blood. By just adding some vital supplements to the diet, detoxification can begin to take place and the heavy metals are released and the body is able to start cleansing the blood of all the contaminants and malignancies. There are scientists who have gotten caught up in big pharma and lost sight of the patients they're supposed to be helping. Many pharmaceutical medications have severe and long-lasting or even permanent side effects. Where are the warnings in the media about these dangerous drugs? Most pharmaceuticals don't even stay on the market long enough to reach their patient renewal because of the detrimental effects they cause. I'm not advocating that you just stop taking your medications, but that you start to explore the options that are out there, that you may be able to ensure that you can reverse your chronic illness, in which case you'll no longer be needing the medications. Speaking with a multitude of doctors and patients, we've seen so many who have been able to accomplish this supposedly impossible feat. So where do you start if you want to detox your body? Our experts are going to walk you through some of the best supplements that are out there for detoxifying and cleansing the liver, kidneys, and lymphatic system.
A lot of times people are buying supplement that's one bottle says detox, and what they're really doing is just having a bowel movement because it took some laxative. And I want to encourage people to actually look at a complete solution that has all the phases of detox covered. And that's a better philosophy than just doing one thing. Because you can clean up the house, but all the trash is still inside your house, not taken out. Guess what? Fly is gonna attract to the trash in your kitchen, that's still in your kitchen, not taken out. You gotta take out the trash, but that's just the last step. You also gotta mop it up, you gotta clean it up. It's a whole system.
Fantastic. You've really hit the nail on the head with that multifaceted approach and help to clarify some of these things. So we know we need to extract the junk, the toxins from each of the organs, treat each of the organs like a room in a house, and then obviously with the consistent bowel movements, then we're able to keep the flow of the junk. So as it's getting released and moving from the bones, like for example, metals coming out of bones, metals coming out of organs, then coming into the bloodstream, coming into and junk actually coming, is it true that it ends up coming into the intestines and then it's excreted?
It's either going to come into the intestine so that you can eliminate it through the fecal route, or it's going to be pulled from the organ or from the bone into the blood, so that when as it's circulating through the blood, then your kidney and liver can filter it, so that they can either be peed out or further fecal elimination or sweat it out. So either way, it's got to come into the gut or it's going to come into the blood. If you take some product and the toxin is still stuck in the bone, then you really didn't detox anything. You might have just detox what's there, or the low-hanging fruit, I call it. But so that's why detox is not a one-day process either, right? It may take time to clean up. You know, it'd be like after a major hurricane, you don't clean up the whole island in one day. It may be a process. Depends on how much damage there is. So it's not a one-size-fits-all approach. Some people may need to do it longer, some people can do it shorter.
Liver detoxification is incredibly important. And what we need to realize is that there's two phases of a proper liver detox pathway. There's something called phase 1, and there's something called phase 2. And in fact, there's actually a third phase, but we won't get into that right yet. What we want to do is we want to make sure that we're connecting those two phases, because one of the worst things you could do is have a disconnect. And I'm not going to get too technical here, but what can connect these two phases so that the toxins, when they come in, go out in a way that your body can excrete, is connected by things such as milk thistle, things such as dandelion, zinc, certain B vitamins. These are all cofactors that really drive those two pathways to really be in synergy and be working well together. Because the last thing we want is an assembly line where the person that's supposed to be putting the stuff in the box is gone on break, but the assembly line's pumping out the product and it keeps landing on the floor. That's what can happen when our liver isn't working in sync. So we've got to connect that back together, and we've got to get the messaging. And often a lot of the nutrients that you and I have been talking about today, these are things that we lose all the time with chronic distress, with poor diets, with all sorts of issues from environmental toxins that confuse the signaling in our body and draw on the demands of these nutrients. We really want to replenish these. In our clinic, we actually measure these nutrients to find out where the specifics are, but you can generally apply a lot of these nutrients and really hit a home run with most people. I love things that can go in there and they can actually absorb, almost like a sponge. And then I love the things that can come by and drag them out almost like a bulldozer and just clean it right out. So Anything that has insoluble fibers or soluble fibers work really well. The soluble especially loves to bind and drag, and then the insoluble loves to drag and push this stuff out. Anything that's such as aloe, which is very calming and very soothing for an inflamed gut lining to prevent some of the resorption of some of this debris as it's moving through, is also very important. Chicory, inulin, these are some other wonderful things that we can all start to bring in.
Great. Perfect. And then now let's have a look at detoxification herbs. I mean, what do you know about good herbs for detoxification?
Certainly, we want to promote detoxification through many different systems. So there's the liver, herbs that are good for liver, herbs that are good for lymphatic system, utilizing sweating, urination, etc. But really we utilize a lot of nutrients to help with the different processes of detoxification. The primary one being glutathione. So when we're talking about the liver, milk thistle can be a phenomenal nutrient herb that helps with detoxification through phase 1 and phase 2, liver detoxification, along with additional nutrients, right? We need to have some things in the system that are binding to toxins and now getting rid of them, right? And so we can use things like chlorella, we can use other things like bentonite clay or charcoal. Those things help with binding and then removing, right, from the system. And so the other piece to this is we want, as we're removing it through the bowels, we want our bowels to be voluminous. We want to have good bowel movements. So utilizing different fibers and things to help with the actual bowel movement occur and hold on to that hydration and get rid of it. You can use psyllium husk, you can use some fibrous-based seeds that things aren't breaking down very well. So now these things now absorb water and hold on to water and create more bowel movements. So I think there are definitely some supplements and things that you want to utilize in properly detoxifying. But always starting low and slow with this process is important so that you don't have any reaction.
Great, and I think that all the steps you're outlining there are helpful in reducing what's called the Herxheimer effect.
Yeah, absolutely,
right? Because which is this strong, violent reaction of the body having an overload of toxins, which can be its own issue of it being in a place that's bad, but then it goes into a place that's worse because it hasn't been excreted from the system.
Yeah, I mean the Herxheimer reaction is well studied, and when you look at the Herxheimer reaction, it's this: we're pulling too much back out into the system that the drains are not prepared for and open to then let go and let out. And so now it's recirculating and causing more of a problem. And some people will sit there and think that they need to push through it. And that's not our goal. Our goal is that you don't have these significant side effects of fatigue and feeling down and depressed or having your symptoms worsen, whatever those symptoms might be for you. We need those things out. And so to do it in a manner where if you're only taking one capsule or you're breaking a tablet in half or you're doing just a little bit to start and then slowly adding on to that protocol.
When we reviewed the blood work and we started her on her detox, I was able to explain to her, look, it doesn't matter that we don't have that test in yet, because based off of the other labs that we've done, we know we have to start off with a detox. We have to. I want to show you some things here. So lipids, this was a huge thing, and this was showing me that she has liver congestion, and I'm going to go back and show you the liver enzymes in just a minute, but let's start here, all right? Her lipids, total cholesterol was 248. In about 5 weeks, we got it down to 197. You can see that there, 248.
Yeah.
248.
So it's too high.
197. Yeah, that's a little high.
It's within range?
It's within range, absolutely. And cholesterol is something that, I don't necessarily believe that it has to be under 200 to be healthy. In her case, we just needed to get it down. I take it more on a case-by-case basis. Her triglycerides were clearly out of range. We like to see the triglycerides between 50 and 100. When we're looking at the functional or holistic model. In the Western medicine model, they say that it's okay up to 150, but we really like to tighten things down so that we can have optimal function. All right. And she was clearly, by any type of medical standard, she was clearly too high. She was at 316.
Hi guys, it's Jonathan here. I just wanted to touch base with you for a second about some questions that we keep getting right now. So you're seeing things live time right now. I'm responding. We've been getting a lot of comments from people asking about, what are these bottles that sometimes experts are referring to, or where are some combinations of these certain herbs you're reading from a certain formula? What is that? And our interest was actually in just educating. Like, we are an education platform. We love you guys just knowing about all the tools are available, and we just love you being able to readily access these tools all around you, and to use everything you have available to you. So our interest was just in getting the information out there, but so many people asked, so I want to just explain this so you can understand. So the bottles that you'll see experts holding up in this series was when I passed to them a formula that perhaps there were some experts in the series, actually a lot of doctors and scientists that consulted me on nutritional formulas that are a part of Well of Life, which is a nutritional supplement company that my wife and I have created to help people get the results that we've been learning about and get the amazing results of transformation that you've seen even in the series with testimonies like Gail and Diana. They use the information, and yet you'll see the additional stories that come up. And they used the Well of Life formulas because they had the right ingredients, the things that they needed uniquely for their body, whether it was detoxification or missing nutrients that they lacked or minerals in their body. And so that's why these formulas were effective, as well as being very, very cost effective. That was something that was really important because we wanted people to be able to afford these things. So just so you can understand, so you'll see Dr. Newsom, for example, in episode 2, you'll see him referencing an important product called blood sugar support, explaining how it works and how these herbs balance each other, how they balance the body. You'll see in episode 3, for those of you that had watched the whole episode or this particular part, you'll see Dr. Newsom is talking about everything from ashwagandha to vitamin D3 or D3 plus K2, which is a Well of Life supplement, B12. You'll see him even talking about a neuro product, which is Neuro Plus, where he's explaining what happens with these nutrients, how they work together, how they support the brain. And in this episode, you'll see Dr. Newsom explain some more important ingredients and how they work, which are found and sourced within the Well of Life products. So I just wanted to explain that to you so many people that were asking could get that answer and understand that. And you can search around for that, understand it, or simply source the ingredients, however you like. What's important to me is that you get the right solutions, but as well, for the amazing success stories of Gail and Diana, you'll see Gabrielle coming up in a later episode, and some other amazing people. You'll see with these particular people, they not only use the information inside of this series to help their health, but they also use the nutritional supplements within Well of Life to help them achieve their goals because of the unique combination of ingredients, the quality of ingredients, and how they work on specific pathways in the body, and how they got what they needed to function at their optimal level. That's what we all want, and to be able to reverse our symptoms when our body is back in balance. So that's me providing some knowledge and information about exactly what is happening in those scenes, and you'll see that coming up in future episodes where we're referencing particular products. And the reason why I'm doing that is as well to test our formulas against other doctors and scientists' clinical practice, and also to show you a real life example so that you can understand how it works, how these things work together, and it's not just a theory. Because the biggest problem that we found sometimes were that we would find something that in theory worked really well, but it didn't actually exist, or it was in a part of the world that we couldn't source, it was too expensive, these types of things. So we wanted to reference real live examples so you can understand how they work, and then choose how you would like to use these things, if at all you would like to use them, and source those unique ingredients however you like, or even use Well of Life products if that's something that you would like. So we wanted to let you know what that is for people that were asking that question. Thank you so much, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the episode. The best news about this is that we've put together 6 of our best formulas into a protocol that we're giving as a free gift to people that take action and own natural medicine secrets during this free screening. But remember, we have an extremely limited supply, so take action today to avoid missing out. With this protocol, you'll be able to detox your organs, cleanse yourself of parasites, repair the gut lining, strengthen and boost your immune system, reduce inflammation, and remove toxins at a cellular level, while fortifying your body with the nourishment it needs. Avoid missing out. Place your order today, and I can't wait to see the transformation you achieve in your life. Dr. Newsom, if you could talk to me about how to support the liver and the kidneys in the detox process, and how particular herbs can be used to aid the process.
Well,
let's go straight into this item.
Let's see what this has here. Let's see what we got. I like, well, let's see here. This one has milk thistle, which helps the liver detox itself, okay? Also protects the liver from toxins. It says beetroot, again, another good one. This one, beetroot helps to drain the liver. It's a good, real important one there. Artichoke helps the liver flush fat and fatty toxins out of itself, okay? For the liver. And then we have chicory root, that's another good liver remedy. Yarrow, good for the liver. Has, let's see here, we have methionine, good sulfur containing amino acid there. L-cysteine and N-acetyl L-cysteine. All of those are help the liver with like detoxing heavy metals and in that whole process, okay? It also has choline, again, which helps thin the bile coming out of the liver so it's not so harsh on the rest of the gut, that's another important thing. This is a good formula. Let's see here, those would be more for the liver. Ginger helps both the liver and the kidneys. That's in this formula. We have concha piedra. That one never comes out quite right. Concha there is called stone crusher, okay? Because it's for crushing the stones in the kidneys. Helps to reduce those types of things. I've used it clinically. It works really well. It's also called Collinsonia root in English. Stone crusher is the Spanish name for it. Dandelion root, excellent for the kidneys. Jojoba seed is very good for the kidneys. Celery seed, excellent remedy for the kidneys. Burdock, also a very good remedy for the kidneys, as is berberine and, again, ginger root. Very nice formula here. With this formula, I would suspect improved liver clearing, improved kidney clearing. You'd get it has some antimicrobial effects you'd be getting from this, particularly more for like urinary tract type issues. Get some clearing of heavy metals and things with this.
But the milk thistle, so many people know about that. It's so widely used, but it works so well. But what makes it work even better is when you can combine it with other herbals. And that's what I see here. The beetroot, I'm the biggest fan of beetroot. Beetroot works so incredibly well. As a matter of fact, there are times that I'll have my patients even drinking a little product called gut shots, and it's a fermented beet juice. So I'll have them do that in addition to some supplements that have beetroot in it. So huge fan of that for detoxification. Artichoke extract, that's great. The dandelion, chicory root, the chanca piedra is really great. The alfalfa is really good. I'm a huge fan of the alfalfa also. Turmeric, that's really good. Chlorella is really good. I think there's chlorella in one of these as a combination in one of your other detox supplements. So chlorella works very well. And when you combine these different ingredients, then they have a really powerful synergistic effect to help to produce the results that I was able to show you on these labs.
Fantastic. Yeah. And so we're clearing up the body, and we're clearing up the kidneys and the liver, and maybe even the gallbladder. I mean.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah? Okay.
Absolutely. And the beetroot is really good for that also.
Great. And so that's obviously important. I mean, it logically makes sense, but I think that maybe people don't know the real impacts of, because the next thing was like, you know, why would I have a liver issue? Like, why would I need to detoxify my liver? Like, it's just like, nobody told me that I've got that problem. The doctor didn't diagnose me with liver problems. You know,
that's because the doctor isn't going to look at that as a problem. The doctor isn't going to look at the liver as a problem unless your liver gets to the point where it's failing you. So your liver enzymes could be high and they'll shake their head and say, well, let's check it next month. Oh, let's check it next month. Oh, your liver's failing now. You know, why didn't they take proactive, you know, action to actually get the liver enzymes back where they needed to be and to clean up the diet? And that's the approach that we're going to take. We're going to look at it before the organ becomes so damaged that the person is at risk of dying.
The cool thing right now too is that there's great science on humic acid and fulvic acid, and there's actually been ways that scientists have been able to modify it so that it doesn't grab on necessarily to like vitamins and nutrients, but it just grabs on to chemicals and toxins. And that's a great place to start, very gentle. So I like bioactive carbons, I love glutathione. Some other things to consider are maybe like a zeolite or even like a hydrolyzed clinoptilite fragment, which is like a fragment of a zeolite as well. So there's a lot of tools in detoxification, but glutathione is a great place to start. The bioactive carbons are a great place to start, and then you can start, you know, removing things. Just don't do too intense off the bat, right? We want to make sure the body can handle it, and then you can just slowly increase. And as you want to dig deeper and go layers, we always recommend find a practitioner that can help, you know, guide you, because detox, especially of heavy metals, can be a little complex. And then if something comes up, you want to know exactly what to do and how, and it can be a little scary when you're doing it on your own sometimes too.
In about 5 weeks, we got her down to 124.
Yeah.
So, and I want to get her down lower. By the time that we rerun her next labs, they will be lower.
Yeah.
Okay. Her LDL cholesterol was 146. We took it down to 132. And this was in just over a month.
Mm-hmm.
This is huge. If we come down and we take a look, let me come back to this first page. If we come down and take a look at her liver enzymes, they were looking pretty bad. Her liver enzymes would be here, and shown is the AST, the ALT, and we're going to come down here and skip down to GGT because these were the ones that were out of range. If we look at what the ranges are supposed to be, in the Western medicine, or we call that the allopathic model, these are the ranges that they use. And you can see that sometimes our ranges are a little bit different, as is the case with the GGT liver enzyme. In the Western medical model, anything between 3 and 70 is okay. We prefer to see optimal function between 10 and 30.
Mm-hmm.
And you can see that she was super high. Even in the Western medicine model, her GGT levels were super high. Her ALT levels were quite high also, even by the medical model standards, right? And then the AST was also too high. Let me show you what we did. Here, hold that.
Thank you.
Let me show you what we did in about 5 weeks. So we took her GGT from 202 to 80. And then the AST was 41. It's now down to 20.
Wow. And that's
So-
within range, both of those?
Yeah, yeah.
Because I can see that, you know, it's coming up there within range.
This is perfectly within range. The GGT, we still need to get that down, but that's huge to get
Yeah.
that down that many points in a month.
Yeah.
That's huge. AST came back within range in a month, and her ALT was 87. It's down to 34. And you know, we have a little ways to go. We'd like to see it between 10 and 26, but still, that's a huge change that we were able to make in just about a month.
Take a look at this here. This is pretty interesting. I'm going to cover the herbs in this first here in this bunch. First thing we have is green coffee bean extract. All right, green coffee bean extract's primary function is actually in the liver. All right, and what green coffee bean does is it makes the liver more susceptible, if you will, or more sensitive to insulin. Here's an interesting fact. Each cell in your liver has 200,000, not 200, 200,000 insulin receptor sites, because it needs that insulin to go in with the food that you're consuming, okay? So when you eat, food enters your digestive tract. It leaves the digestive tract through the bloodstream and goes into the liver first before it reaches your general circulation. So the food has to be processed for the rest of your body, right? Well, what this does is this helps the liver process sugar as it's coming in, okay, carbohydrates as it's coming in, so that the rest of your body can utilize that sugar properly, okay, so that it doesn't cause a massive rise in your blood sugar. Very, very important. We have a cinnamon extract, okay. Cinnamon does something very similar, okay, and cinnamon not only does its work in the liver, it helps out throughout the rest of the body. Okay, so the green coffee bean does more of its work in the liver, where cinnamon works more along the outside, okay, out in the cellular level. Cinnamon is excellent for the circulatory system also. Antioxidizes the arteries and veins and things like that, so blood flows better. Moringa. Moringa, in my opinion, is more of a adaptogen, okay? But it helps with liver, kidney, and pancreas functions.
There are other ones that we need to be thinking about when we're talking about lymphatic system or the kidneys. We can utilize different mushroom extracts. We can utilize antioxidants too. With the detoxification process, we have phase 1, then we have some intermediates, meaning that there's some things that are created based off of phase 1 detoxification, and then phase 2 detoxification, which is then created that fat-soluble substance now into a water-soluble substance, and now we can get rid of it, right? So with phase 1 and phase 2, we're doing things like nutrients, we're doing B vitamins, methylation, we're doing glucuronidation, we're providing additional nutrients to help invoke these processes. But herbs can be a great way to help push this along, and milk thistle is one of the ones that we utilize the most in our practice for sure. These intermediates that are created between phase 1 and phase 2 are oxidants. So we want antioxidants to be coming in. So we often tell patients to eat the rainbow, right? We have different colors of foods and fruits that have these antioxidants in them. So food is being one way that we can do this, but then the other is if we're having a lot of toxins and we're trying to get rid of them, it's doing things like acai or blueberry or pomegranate, these types of antioxidants that can be utilized to help with that process.
We have chlorella here. This would be something really good to add to that, especially for detoxing chemicals, heavy metals. Chlorella is a good sponge. In the process of stepping it up with the colon cleansing and then starting to work on the liver and kidney cleansing, if we used this product here, this is a turmeric, ginger, and bioperine product. If we were to use this in that mix, it would speed up the drying up of the inflammation or swelling that people may have. So you can get some pretty good detoxing with this, pretty good clearing of heavy metals probably with this. I would use this kind of stuff for heavy metals. I would use this for definitely for liver kidney support for sure. I really like this colon formula. Again, this would be a good expeller formula. What I would use that for expelling. Here's what I would look at. I would look at doing the first round of things for probably about 2 months, and then moving on to the second round for another 2 months. Usually, this is what I've found. Found clinically, the 3 to 4 month range for a detox is right about spot on. Okay, And if it's not too draining a detox, people feel great. And they just kind of feel better as they move through it. If it is too, if it's too draining, it has too much drainage, then they usually they detox too fast with it. You know, whereas this layout here, we could get decent detoxing without running into detoxing too fast.
And we're looking at the dry blood right here. You can see this big white circle in the center of the sample. And that usually shows that inflammation is in the body, but most likely it's landing itself in the reproductive areas and or the gut as well. So we look at these things, and it's not about treating that specific area. It doesn't mean there's any issues in that area, but it means that there's inflammation that could be landing in a weak part of the body. So the key thing for Peggy is that we need to lower this systemic inflammatory response. And the key things for that are going to be looking at her omega-3s, omega-6 ratio. We have to get more chlorophyll into her system, right? Because the chlorophyll is loaded with minerals. So minerals is the key thing, because the minerals is really what mops up the blood and cleans out the terrain, and that's going to be an essential thing. And we're also seeing some lymphatic congestion, so I recommended to her to do some dry skin brushing before her shower, which opens up the corks of the skin so the lymph system can release itself, and also doing something called a rebounder, which is where you gently bounce on a mini trampoline. And what that does is you have 3 times more lymph than you do blood, and what we want to do is facilitate the movement of the lymph. We all know that your body moves its blood by the heart, but your lymph system doesn't have a heart. So that movement on the rebounder causes all that lymph to basically come up towards the heart and then valve shut, and eventually it will help itself come out through the skin, come out through the 4 pathways, which is urination, perspiration, defecation, and respiration, which is the elimination pathways of the body.
Actually, the digestive enzymes are excellent for loosening up the lymphatics. Here we talked about turmeric. You know, here's something interesting. Taking vitamin D3 again helps activate a lot of, here you get over 20,000 different enzyme functions that vitamin D3 is involved with. So all these chemical reactions that it's involved with that help with detox, help with inflammation, help with hormone function, help with all kinds of different things, okay? Vitamin D3 is a fat-soluble vitamin, okay? A lot of times, matter of fact, if you were to take it with turmeric, turmeric helps you pick up and absorb vitamin D3, but taking vitamin D3 with an omega, okay, with some sort of oil, okay, does help with the body picking up and absorbing that vitamin D3, okay? Those would be some of the ways I'd be using the vitamin D3, the turmeric, enzymes, those types of things to start loosening up the lymphatic system. So we get the lymphatic system, you don't want to flush the lymphatic system out, okay? Flushing it out could stress or bog down your kidneys and your liver, okay? Your kidneys and liver have to filter everything that's coming out of your lymphatic system. If you do too much drainage of the lymphatic system without draining the rest of the system first, it can release what's been, the monster that's been contained in all your lymph nodes.
So I think there are definitely some supplements and things that you want to utilize in properly detoxifying, but always starting low and slow with this process is important so that you don't have any reaction.
Great, and I think that all the steps you're outlining there are helpful in reducing what's called the Herxheimer effect.
Yeah, absolutely,
right? Because which is this strong, violent reaction of the body having an overload of toxins, which can be its own issue of it being in a place that's bad, but then it goes into a place that's worse because it hasn't been excreted from the system.
Yeah, I mean the Herxheimer reaction is well studied, and when you look at the Herxheimer reaction, it's this: we're pulling too much back out into the system that the drains are not prepared for and open to then let go and let out. And so now it's recirculating and causing more of a problem. And some people will sit there and think that they need to push through it. And that's not our goal. Our goal is that you don't have these significant side effects of fatigue and feeling down and depressed or having your symptoms worsen, whatever those symptoms might be for you. We need those things out. And so to do it in a manner where, if you're only taking one capsule or you're breaking a tablet in half or you're doing just a little bit to start and then slowly adding on to that protocol.
What a key point to remember. Done right, detoxing should have minimal side effects. But if too many toxins are being pulled out into the system and the detox organs cannot process and excrete them quickly enough, you could have some negative effects. However, it's important to note that parasite die-off also can cause symptoms to arise because the parasites are expelling neurotoxins, heavy metals, viruses, and other toxins. Some of the symptoms you may experience include fatigue, headache, stomach discomfort, aches and pains, skin rashes, and acne. But you can alleviate these symptoms with Epsom salt baths, which draw toxins from the body, ginger, which settles the stomach, getting lots of sleep, using essential oils, and castor oil packs. These are just a few of the ways that you can combat these uncomfortable reactions. But if you persevere, and I've seen this to be the case in my life, in my wife Lori, and so many people that I love and care about, that you, just like all these other people, will be able to eliminate the parasites and the toxins that are causing the reaction in the first place. So persistence is important. This episode is a pivotal part of the protocol for everyone. Detoxing the liver, kidneys, and lymphatic system is an essential part of healing the body. Without these steps, your symptoms may partially improve, but parasites and heavy metals can cause your symptoms to persist or re-emerge. We hope that you'll be able to take what you've learned and use these key ingredients to transform your body and begin your healing journey, as many of our other customers have done. More testimonies continue to pour in, letting us know that these protocols and herbs really work. We know that there's hope for you and your loved ones as well. Before we go, I want to remind you that you can still get instant on-demand access to all of the silver gold packages with discounts of up to 93%. An offer that's exclusively for people just like you who watch the world premiere screening of our groundbreaking docuseries.
We have dozens of hours of information on video, audio, and PDF format, plus lifetime access to the program and over $2,778 worth of gifts. To bring this information to the world, we gathered 57 of the world's best doctors, scientists, and researchers with expertise in both traditional medicine and alternative medicine, making Natural Medicine Secrets possibly one of the best sources of information for anyone looking to heal their body with natural medicine instead of side effect-laden drugs.
To find out more about the Silver Gold package and the whopping 93% discount, just click the link below to get started now. This discount may not last, so act now. See you in the next episode, and thank you so much for joining us.